What if I told you that Dragunity just won a regional? Don't be like the 30% of you that have not smashed the ever-living crap out of that subscribe button. Smash it so you guys don't miss out on more Oz content. This is one of the coolest regional breakdowns that I'm going to get the chance to talk about here. Now, leading the charge for this event is actually Kashtira, being the super most dominated deck in the room. Just two of them in top cut. That's not the most surprising things, though, out of this. Labyrinth has a huge resurgence here out of top cut, as we see two of them actually make it on into the top cut here. Now, all real things considered here, I have seen this deck actually kind of do relatively well as of late. It's recovering, I would say, from the metagame, shutouts that it had much earlier in the format. We also had Sword Soul returning to its thing. Man, that's something that I haven't heard or said in quite some time, that Sword Soul is back from the abyss to try to lock down a top cut finish here, which is extremely nice. We also had Sprite doing its thing as well. Sprite with the Melfi innovations have really piqued a lot of players' interest as of late, really showcasing that, a little bit of a splash package in the deck has turned it into such a big difference in terms of innovation. We also had a Math Mech player out here, still doing the same standard Math Mech plays that we have seen the deck do up to this stage. And then the biggest shocker out of this entire event, first place, is none other than Dragunity Adventure, essentially synchro good stuff. You're still going to see a lot of the aspects that Dragon Link had going for it, because a lot of that deck still kind of migrates over in terms of the innovations that you need to see in order to get the deck, started. All right, let's pass on over so you can see what's going on here. Winning your event here is none other than Dragunity good stuff. And we are seeing some Star Dragon out here. So this card can be traded as 2 tributes for the tribute summon of a dragon monster. You banish a card from your graveyard, target a level 5 or higher dragon in your graveyard, add it back to your hand, and then immediately after this effect resolves, you can tribute summon it. I love the fact that we can get back our free red MD if we really need to put an extra body on the field. You got a lot of cool things that you're able to kind of combo extend out with this deck that really does make it more of, the unique experience with this. You are in full control now of the whole Dragunity package in here, because now Armagram gets the ability to be the amazing extender that you want it to be. Glow is played as a one of in here, which is perfectly fine. Honestly, the whole dragon package from Dragunity is just going to be stepping stones for you to climb up. And of course, we are playing Cobalt Eagle in here so that we can actually get rid of the Rainbow Bridge of Salvation to go toggle for, best field spell in the deck. Dragon Ravine not being a hard once per turn still mind boggles me here. And then also you have access to the Kyoto waterfront in here as well, so you can toggle for good old Gamma Seal. The whole infinite Gamma Seal negate engine that we're very used to seeing in a lot of the older generation decks is definitely going to be something that's going to detour a lot of opponents here. And trust me, Gamma Seal running around with negates is not exactly the best thing that you want to see as a player, because the minute that this starts happening, things get incredibly scary. So yeah, that is your first place winning list here. Following it up here, we had some cash money dollar bills. The deck, this build has actually stripped down a lot of what we considered like the better cards going for it, and we're just playing one Rise Heart now. Duelist opted to feel that they didn't need to include anymore, and I do understand a lot of the power that Rise Heart does give you can feel like a brick in the later games. So just go ahead and kind of trimming off a little bit of the fat does kind of give this deck some room to grow. We also have enemy controllers, Book of Moons for standard defensive options. We have talents to disrupt and take the opponent's stuff. We're not playing Thrust or Evenly Matched or any of the more staple-esque cards that Kashtira has kind of become known for. As I see that we are opting to play the Skull Knight instead of like the Garuda or the Anitis as well. While the Anitis is actually pretty good, I guess it comes down to a lot of the player preference as well. Next up here, we have, See down here, straight off the bat, you're already seeing the Garuda here actually make all that difference for deck development. Now, this build did opt for 6 Solemns in the main deck, but you also see, once again, we are playing Thrust, but we're not playing, you know, any real stuff to toggle for it immediately in the main deck. We're not even playing evenly. At most, you know, we can toggle for a dimensional barrier down here and have defensive lines of play set up to disrupt the opponent. And I do think that that's going to get you places at the end of the day. Don't underestimate the ability to thrust into a dimensional barrier, because all your deck needs is 1 turn to end the opponent's dueling career, and you'll usually go into a pretty incredibly easy spot outside of that. But to see that, once again, you've got different varying ratios here. I mean, you're on 1 Pot of Desires with 2 Pot of Prosperity. Seems kind of interesting to me at the end of the day. Next up here, we have our Math Mech list. Now, we have seen as of late that the 1 Thunder King Kaiju has kind of just moved on into this deck. A lot more players have made the decision to actually have this as a toggleable option for the deck. I mean, being able to small world into a Kaiju to get over whatever, you know, threat your opponent has set up on the field is pretty good. Especially like against SB if they got a Dragoon, and then you activate small world and they're like, it can pass, and then you can go search for the Kaiju, and then congratulations, you just cleaned up about 95% of their field. This deck is still very notorious for its OTK factors. We are playing the triple talents. We're not even worrying about the thrust for this build. Once again, thrust is a good card, but just immediately having the talents to give you the answer to kind of get to whatever situation, whether or not take an opponent's monster, get the extra draw, or just paralyze your opponent's hand and force them to lose a card. You have a lot, once again, of different skill trees that you can go down. Deck is incredibly resilient at what it does. Next up here, we have our first Labyrinth list. Now, do keep in mind that Chaos Angel is literally right around the corner here. Right? Once we do see that, you know, come down, I think you will see a lot of innovations to this deck actually change. We are playing a Vivid Tale here. Target 1 card you control, return it to the hand, and if this card is in your graveyard, and target 1 face-up card you control, set this card, but banish it when it's field. If you return that face-up card to the hand. Yes, we get bounce ability back with these. I think the thing that's particularly most interesting to me is we've expanded out all of the Labyrinth-like names in here. A lot of the cards that a lot of players would consider bricks are still seeing play in here, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing at the end of the day. It definitely proves that you do have a lot of room in terms of deck building and exploration here. But once again, once Chaos Angel kind of touches down here, I think that we will see some differences in terms of deck building. See, look at that, straight off the bat. This build stripped out all of the extra Labyrinth cards that you just saw in that previous build here, and it really shows like how much differences in deck building that you can have. And of course, the most notorious card down here being the Eradicator Epidemic Virus. So many people are calling for this to be banned right now. It's actually kind of crazy. While the card is insanely busted, I think at the end of the day, it's just one card that only really Labyrinth is playing, and Labyrinth in and of itself hasn't been that crazy of a deck. Outside of that, I mean, this is what I would consider the more standard meta build. Though the Gammas aren't really all that standard. I'm used to seeing like a Lord of Heavenly Prison in here as such, but this build having different opinions and things to test is good. Shout out to Double Lingaribo down here, not trying to lose to a random Nightmare Corruptor Ibly that's trying to steal the game from me. So, alright. And the last list we have for you here is Sprite. And this is what I was talking about here, where this Splash Melfi package has just innovated this deck into something completely different. The fact that the Melfi cards, I mean, they do give you huge advantage, don't get me wrong, but for what they give to the deck, it is really, really strong. We are main decking double talents, which is fine. We have some Dark Rule and No Mores down here to disrupt the opponent. What's interesting to me is we opted for the Smashers in the side, and then we opted for the Gamma Burst in the main, which means that you can actually OTK your opponent game 1 if your opponent thinks that, you know, there's going to be a Smasher around the corner for a defensive option. It's not like you don't have Double Cross as a defensive option that you can take advantage of. You have, once again, a lot of different ways to see what you can do for this deck. So overall, that is your breakdown out of the online region. I didn't think we'd ever see Dragunity come back with power, but it did. So what do you guys think? Please leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here later today, guys. Peace out. Patrons! Thank you!
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.